Thank you very much, and I'm very happy to be here. And I'm not so happy to talk about corruption because I prefer to speak about fair play. And fair play is, well, when children play, there's always some kind of situation, and then any child will recognize right from the beginning that, hey, the other kid is manipulating the game or not playing fair. And then, well, they start to argue about this, and in most of the cases, they solve the situation. So why is it that children are so easy and so experienced in solving these situations, while adults have so much trouble? And so they have difficulty in dealing with these situations. It's almost, if you see how many corruption there is in the world, it's almost comparable to a pandemic. And well, not an easy one, because over the centuries there has been no silver bullet against this pandemic. And even if you compare the search for a vaccine against corona, well, it took about a year. And now, well, it will take about a year to vaccinate a good part of the global population, hopefully. But even such a long struggle is incredibly fast compared to the almost eternal struggle we have in our fight against corruption. So why is that? And well, there's one very simple answer to this question, and that is that corruption is almost a bit like human behavior. So it's in the nature of people, and it's connected to a difference of wealth. So when you have poor people are vulnerable. So it's easy to manipulate them, and they have a clear interest to get a little bit more than they only have. And then you would say that, well, okay, then it's the only need is to have enough rich people and to resolve this problem of poverty. But that's not the answer, because rich people are even more greedy. So for them, it's never enough. So they want to have more, and they cannot resist the temptation to, when they get the opportunity, to manipulate a little bit, or to cheat a little bit, or to steal a little bit, in sometimes a very, very sophisticated manner. And well, that is all part of this global conspiracy of corruption. So let me start with some figures, and then I take my own country, the Netherlands, as an example. The Netherlands is like number 8 on the Global Corruption Perception Index. That's a yearly published list. There's a global organization, very good organization, Transparency International. They issue this yearly, and it's very impartial. And the Netherlands is like in between Norway and Germany. So, well, we're doing quite fine on this list. And how did we achieve this? Well, this was achieved by a set of legislation, and the legislation is being updated every now and then. It is in the business community, there are lots of checks and balances, and it's a question of mentality. But even in the Netherlands, corruption is not eradicated. So I'll give you an example related to Corona again. Last year in April, so when Corona hit the Netherlands, as any country in the world, the government was desperately looking for masks, which we are still wearing today. And then there was a guy in one of our political parties, the Christian Democrat Party. So that's, well, a party supposed to have high moral standards. And he said, well, I will help you, government. I will organize some speedy delivery of masks. And by the way, I'll do it for free. I don't have any personal interest. And then it came out after a year that the guy has earned like 20 or maybe even more millions of euros with his delivery of these masks. And now there's a public debate going on. How should we deal with it? And then he offered. He said, well, it was only temporarily. It was my intent to donate this money to the Cancer Foundation. And so please take my offer. And then the Cancer Foundation, and of course they could use this money very well. But he said, no, we don't want such a gift because it's contaminated. We would legalize this corruption scheme. So, well, I believe this is a fine example of the mentality many people have in our country. And, well, as I said, unfortunately, not everyone, because it is human behavior. So now about Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is in a bit different position. It's number 94 on this very same index. And, well, that is not the best performance in the world. However, the good news is that Kazakhstan made its way up from the 119th position the previous year. So Kazakhstan is doing a fine job, struggling its way up from the lower ranks up to the middle ranks and hopefully even higher. And personally, I'm very much connected to this effort because there is a state agency which is called Anticor. I know these people, and they invite me every now and then, and sometimes I find out that a couple of other ambassadors and a couple of other foreign experts, but at some point I noticed, well, hey, I'm the only one. It's for the rest only Kazakhstan officials and businessmen, but I like that, and I always share my own concerns, our own struggles, and because it's in the end all about openness. And I know that your government has an ambitious program, which is called the Listening State, and it's, well, more particular on public spending. They have launched websites in which every citizen has access to any project throughout the country where there's a new school being built or a new municipality house. What is the budget of this project? How is it being spent? Which companies are getting the orders? So there is a serious effort in cleaning up the system, cleaning up the state and the mentality, and it's deeply connected to the rest of the reforms. So it's all about democracy, transparency, and an open society. And in the end, well, let's be fair, it's also about creating an inviting business climate, so for foreign investments. And being the biggest investor as the Netherlands, well, we are also closely connected to these interests. And as I said, it's about legislation, so and compliance to the rules and regulations. And now I will come to my conclusion, which is a direct message to all of you, because you are the new generation. And so you will be in the future position to boost up further and reach the higher ranks of this Transparency International list. And it's not just about the statistics and not just about the competition. It is in the end in your own interest to have a bright future for yourselves and your children. And I have a great confidence that in this beautiful school you get a lot of inspiration. So not just my speech, but from all of your teachers and your staff and you are in an excellent position to get this message and to turn it into practice in the coming decades. So thank you very much beforehand. I count on you.